Greatest of afternoons, evenings, or mornings all. We are going to be doing our third episode. So this episode relates to the building of a trust fund. So you want to create a trust fund. So this one I'm going to actually be doing live streaming. So we're going to live stream this one and make it available on Facebook. So this is going to be a first for the episode. Once again, my name is Mario A. Reed. I'm the managing law partner for the Marti Law Group, also known as the Law Offices of Mario A. Reed, the Education Esquire. And these videos are intended to be educational exclusively. This is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. So once again, the name of this video is So You Want to Create a Trust. And I'm going to be sharing this. We're going to do this live on Facebook. So once it is that it gets loaded, we're going to get started. But we had our knowledge movement. And for those who are unaware, the knowledge movement is a set of free workshops which was created back in December of 2023. And we've been doing it every month since then, every month without fail. Typically, it's on the second Sunday of each month. And the workshops are in person for the purposes of ensuring that individuals have an opportunity to get together amongst like minded individuals and learn about topics that many of us were never taught about. Yesterday's was titled, Do You Want to Build a Trust Fund? And at that workshop, we looked at the specific ways that you can build a trust fund. One of the things that I said that I'd be doing is with the new YouTube page, offering a lot of the content that's a part of those knowledge movements via the videos that anybody can watch back at any time. So this episode is intended for that purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to dive right into it. So once again, this is the third episode of the YouTube series for the law offices of Mario A. Reed, the Education Esquire, which is also abbreviated as the Lumarti Law Group. And this episode is, do you want to build a trust fund and how do you go about doing so? So the first step that we constantly are going to bring up and is going to constantly be reminded of, I'm going to be reminding you of, is that you got to have a trust. That's the first step. Ideally, it's a revocable living trust. I cannot stress enough how every adult over the age of 18 should have a trust. Once you've created the trust, the next step is you're going to open up a brokerage account. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing how the process works. If you want to do it, knock yourself out. If you don't want to do it, knock yourself out. But for those of us who wish to create generational wealth for our loved ones and also for ourselves, this is the process that you can undertake to create a thriving, lucrative trust fund. So you've created your trust. You went and you sat down with your estate planning attorney of choice. Ideally, it's someone who concentrates in the space of estate planning exclusively or primarily. So, what that means is they're not doing divorces and bankruptcies as well as child custody matters. It's perfectly okay if they do all of those different things, but ideally you're working with someone who concentrates in the estate planning space because they're going to be able to share certain insights with you that other more general practitioners probably won't have that same level of knowledge and depth of knowledge. So you went and you sat down with your estate planning attorney, and that individual created your certification of trust for you. That's a document that spells out that you're the trustee, a trust exists, who the successor trustee is or are, as well as the taxpayer identification number for the trust and other pertinent details which are governed by the Illinois Trust Code. We're talking about the state of Illinois presently. That's where I'm licensed to practice. 20 other states have reciprocity, but primarily I'm talking about the state of Illinois. Once you've gotten your certification of trust, now you're ready to go to a financial institution and open up a brokerage account. You can go right online to Google and type in E-Trade Trust Account. As the second link, it says all forms and applications. And then I'm going to zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see. You can scroll to where it says Trust Account, open a brokerage account registered in the name of an established trust. and you can submit that application online. I in no way, shape, or form am advertising or sponsoring or supporting E-Trade other than they give you the option. Charles Schwab also gives you the option. So you're able to go online and then set it up online. I'm a big fan of that because I don't always want to talk to individuals. Sometimes they get distracted, they want to ask other questions. So I just want to cut right to the chase and get the business done. I'm submitting the online application, and then it's going to tell you that you're going to need certain information. It's also going to give you options about things such as margin and options. We're not going to delve into that as a part of this video. That's something for a later video, which potentially won't be for quite a while, because this is the focus on the estate planning, specifically creating your trust fund. As a reminder, a trust is that legal entity which was created to own your stuff. The fun part of it is when you take money and you put it inside of an account that's in the name of the trust. It's a very simple concept. You start a trust, you open an account, and you fund the account. It's not a trust account as much as it's a brokerage account that's opened in the name of the trust. That's what all of this is about. So we've created this account. So we went online to E-Trade, and then we go through the process of opening the account. When doing so, it's going to give you the option to also open up a savings or a checking in CD. If you want to do that, knock yourself out. But for our purposes, we're focusing on the brokerage account. And then it's going to be for yourself as the trustee. And then all of the rest of it, you'll go through. It's a wizard. It's not hard at all. It's very formulaic. You just click it in the boxes and in the circles, and then it does what it needs to do. Well, now that you have that E-Trade account open, now you have to fund it. And how you go about funding it is you transfer money from your checking or your savings account or even another brokerage account, such as, let's say, Robinhood or Stash or Acorn, and you transfer those funds into the account that is now opened in the name of the trust. Once you've done so, now your trust fund is funded. You have an account opened in the name of the trust, which has funds in it, and you're ready to get started. Now, the reason why it is that I'm recommending a brokerage account is because we want for this trust fund to grow. And one of the best ways for your funds to grow, or the funds of the trust to grow, is to invest those funds. Now, I again am going to stress, I am not giving financial advice. I am not a financial planner. It is not my desire in any way, shape, or form to try and convince anyone to do anything. I'm simply sharing what I've done personally. So for my trust fund, I've done this approach. So this is my personal opinion and something that I've done for my specific trust fund. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, where is the money going to come from? I'm going to give you an example, which is a real life example that a lot of people have access to or have lived and experienced. So originally back in 2015, purchased this property at 17104 Kenwood Avenue in South Holland, Illinois. Lived there for several great years. It was a fantastic time, and then decided to move on, like many people do. Held onto the house, rented the property out, and then, as of December 26th of last year, made the decision to go ahead and sell it. Not interested in continuing to be a landlord, and as a result, got it ready, had it cleaned up. Shout out to the contractor, A&D Housing Solutions, which does phenomenal work, and made it so where it's ready to be sold on the open market. Unfortunately, it took much longer than was anticipated. 6 months is what it's been. But after everything shakes out, and then again, I'm not going to go into the details of margin and everything, but just for purposes of making things easy, we're going to say that the amount that's going to come away from it is $200,000. And a lot of people will say, well, that's a lot of money. Not really, considering when you've invested well over that amount into it, with the interest as well as with the property taxes, with the utilities. We had to replace the furnace as well as the air conditioner condensing 4 months after purchasing the property. So it's ultimately that $200,000 is really just a refund of what was put into the property. But for our purposes, The money's going to be made out to the trust because the trust is the owner of this property. So when the title company cuts the final check, it's going to be made out to the name of the trust. We're going to take that check and we're going to deposit all of it into the E-Trade account. And now the funds are in E-Trade. As soon as those funds clear and are available to use, we're going to purchase a particular stock. In this case, we're going to use one that has a history dating back to a year ago, so you can see what it would have looked like over the course of a year. But the stock that's going to be purchased in this case isn't one that's been around for a year. It's only been around since November of 2024. And a lot of people would say, oh, it's Johnny come lately. Are you sure you want to do that? For those who attended the workshop on Sunday, May 25th, 2025, you know and understand why that's the one that we're going to use. But for informational purposes only, this is education, this is entertainment, this is information, this is not financial advice. We're going to look at what it would have looked like had we have done this same scenario a year ago with our trust fund. So the stock symbol for that stock is MSTY. M as in Mario, S as in Sammy, T as in trillions, and Y as in, yep, you guessed it, MSTY. So the $200,000 has been obtained and it's now available in the E-Trade account. Now, let's say that this would have taken place back on, and we're going to find the specific date. So April 4th was the furthest dividend we can look at. So we're going to go to April 1st. Just to make it easy, we're going to look at, you know what? No, let's go all the way back to February 23rd. It doesn't matter. So let's go back to February 23rd. So we would have purchased $200,000 worth of MSTY back on February 23rd. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen so that we can all look at the calculator. And when you're doing this for yourself, I recommend get yourself some scratch paper. Having that scratch paper is going to help this make a lot more sense because you're going to need to jot down some information. So we started with the capital amount of $200,000, which again, a lot of people don't have $200,000 lying around, and I understand that. But for a lot of people who are approaching retirement, you do have access to that kind of capital. It's just oftentimes you're unaware of it. But we're going to use it because this scenario has $200,000. So we're taking $200,000 and then we're dividing that by the share price on February 23rd, which was $21.60. So I take my $200,000 and I divide that by $21.60. And that means that right out of the gates, we obtained 9,259 shares. That's our total share count, our total portfolio value, 9,259 shares, and that was as of February 23rd, 223. Now, like I mentioned, we can't look at the dividends dating back to February, but that's okay because we got the shares, so now we're protected. And when I say protected, we're just invested. So it's not like there's any vulnerability. We're just invested. So let me make sure to use the right language because language matters a ton. So now we held on to those shares and we had those shares for a couple months. And then on April 5th, the record date, which is the date that you have to have owned the shares by, it came. And then on April 8th, YieldMax, which is the company that manages these funds, they paid out their dividend. And their dividend for April was $4.13. And the reason why I'm saying $4.13 is because it was $4.12 and then 8 afterwards. So YieldMax rounds up. They look out for us. If it's over 5, like rounding works, then they bump us up another penny. So it was $4.13. So this information comes from Stock Analysis. All of this information is right on the internet. You can do all your own research. Don't believe a word I'm saying. Go independently research it yourself, and then you'll find out just how incredible it is. So we've got $4.13 as the dividend that's getting paid out. So now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to pull up the calculator. And again, for purposes of everyone being able to understand it, I'm going to be using whole numbers. So even though we could have purchased 9,259.25, there are a lot of brokerages which allow you to purchase fractional shares. In this case, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it simple. So 92.59 times $4.13. So in the very first month after purchasing the $200,000 worth of shares on April 8th, you get a dividend payout. Your trust fund gets a dividend payout in the amount of $38,000, 239.67. That's the first dividend check for your trust fund. It gets paid out. Now, a lot of people are going to hop in the comments and say, well, what about taxes? What about taxes? Ultimately, yes, there are going to be taxes. And because there are going to be taxes, everybody's got to pay it. Let's not get lost in the sauce about that. So we've got the $38,239.67. Now, in the case of my trust fund, what it is that I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up to be reinvested. And we're going to go and we're going to purchase more shares of MSTY. So I'm going to stop that share. And then we are going to take a look at the share price of MSTY on April 8th. So we're going to come here and we're going to look and see what was the share price on April 8th. Well, we can look at April 12th. Google doesn't allow you to look at it per day. They kind of have rolling dates, but you could actually go look at the share price on that day. You know what? We can actually do that in stock analysis. I apologize, but right in stock analysis, we can look at the maximum history, and then we can go back to April 8th, and we can find out that the share price closed at. So the close on April 8th was $17.20, but we could have purchased it the next day, and it opened at $17.59. So we're going to use that price. On April 9th, it opened at $17.59. So now what we're going to do is we are going to do our math. And again, we're just doing simple, basic math. None of this stuff is rocket science. It's all basic fourth grade math. We're going to take our $38,239.67, and we are going to divide that by the opening price, which was $17.59, divided by $17.59. And we just picked up another 2,173 shares. Remember, we're using whole numbers. So now we're going to add our 2173 with our 92.59, and we now have 11,432 shares. And that's as of April 9th. So again, very simple. The trust fund, the brokerage account, and the name of the trust purchased more shares. And it purchased it with the funds that came from the dividend payout. Nothing magical about this, nothing complicated. We took capital, invested it, used the funds that came from the investment to go buy more shares of the investment. So we've purchased another 2,173. And then now we're going to go back and we're going to look at the dividend that was paid out the next month, which is May. On May 8th, the dividend that was paid out was $2.52. That 252 is what it is that's going to be paid out. And with it, that getting paid out, what happens is we're going to take that 11,432 and multiply by 252. And now in the month of May, on May 8, 2024, so I'm going to put down 5/8. We get a dividend payout of $28,808.64. Again, it's very simple. Every month, a check is getting paid. Those dividends are going to be paid out to the trust because the trust is the account owner. On May 8th of 2024, that check was $28,808.64. The trust didn't get up, didn't go to work, didn't listen to any clients or customers, curse them out for any reason. The trust simply had an account, and the capital is now working for the account. So now we're going to go and we're going to look at our history and look at the max and find out what was the opening price the next day after 5/8. So when I go and I look at the opening price on 5/8, and then I go all the way back and I take a look. So our opening price on 5/8, well, we're going to just use May 10th, which is $28.97. So $28.97 was the share price. So the share price on May 10th of 2024 was $28.97. So we are going to subtract that. Let me go back here. I'm sorry, we're not going to subtract, we're going to divide that. So we're dividing by $28.97. So now we just picked up another 994 shares. We got paid on May 8th. We took the amount that we got paid, and then the trust purchased another 994 shares. And we add that amount to our existing shares, which is 11,432. And now our trust account, our trust brokerage account, has 12,426. And that's as of May 8th. Very simple. So now we just go back and do this again. And I'm going to do it 2 more times just so that you get the idea and the hang of it. But I'm not going to go through all of the different months because, again, I'm not going to bore you. It's just basic math. So it's not something that's complicated that anybody needs any, real in-depth explanation for. But we're now into June. And then the dividend in June was $3.03. So 3.03. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our total count of 12,426, and we're going to multiply that by $3.03 times 3.03. We get nope, that won't work. So 12,426 shares times $3.03 equals 37,000, and that's on 6/7 equals $37,650.78. So in the first 3 months of having the trust fund set up in this format, there's been a dividend check of $38,239.67 the first month. The second month was $28,808.64. And then the third month was $37,650.78. It's the first 3 months. We're averaging, what's that, $35,000? No, probably $34,000 a month in dividends simply by letting the capital go make money. So again, we're now going to go back and take a look. So we got paid on June 7th. So now we're going to look and see what was the share price in or around June 7th. So we're going to go to MSTY, stock performance on Google, and we're going to look at the next day thereafter. We're going to look at June 7th. Let's look at June. No, I want to go to June 14th. So we'll just use the same $31.02. Again, it doesn't matter because all of this is in the past. So it's not like it's going to be this case in the future per se, but it's to give you an idea. So we take our $37,000 that we got in the month of June, $37,650.78, and we're dividing that by $31.02. Now we get another 1,213 shares. So we now have a new 1,213 shares, 1213 plus 12,426 shares. Now we are up to 13,639 shares. And that's as of July. So we're now already into July. We're about 5 months in, but in terms of payments, we're only 3 payments in. So we're now in July. So we're going to take a look and see what was the dividend payout in the month of July. We go back to stock analysis, which is right online by Google, And in the month of July, the dividend payout was $2.33 per share. So all we're doing is going back and multiplying our current dividend count of 13,639 times $2.33 per share times $2.33 per share. And that's on 7/8. So on 7/8, we get paid out another $31,778.87. That's July 8th. So again, we're now going to go take a look and see what was the share price around July 8th. Go back to Google and July 8th. So on July 12th, the share price was $26.66. $26.66. So we are now going to divide our dividend payout for the month of July of $31,778.87 divided by $26.66. So that's a new 1,192 shares. And we're adding that 1,192 plus 13,639. And it's important that you be able to read your own penmanship so that way you don't make a error that way. But 14,831, and that's how many we now have as of our next date. Now, I want to pause here to let you know that because you're collecting all of these shares, you still have the value of the stocks, the individual shares. So if we just take a quick pause and multiply 14,831 times the share price on, so let's fast forward to, that was July. So then come August 8th, that's the next date that there's a dividend payout. But if we look at the share price on August 8th, August 2nd, it's $26.81. Well, we can actually multiply our 14,831 times $26.81. So remember what we started with? We started with $200,000. The value of the portfolio from February to August is now $397,000. Even if someone doesn't want to continue down this path, they can simply sell all their shares and then they just made $200,000 over the span of February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 7 months, doubled the money. I got to stress yet again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not selling securities. I don't care what you do. If you never, ever listen to me or ever come back and view this video, I'm cool with that because I'm not interested in trying to sell anything. I'm interested in educating and sharing knowledge that I wish someone would have shared with me many, many moons ago. And that's my commitment. So the great W.E.B. Du Bois talked about educate to elevate. The great Marcus Garvey indicated that there needs to be a personal responsibility to cooperative economics, group economics, and then making sure that we're pushing one another forward. I honor those individuals' legacies with the work in which I do in terms of educating. I care not about whether you get paid or you want to get paid. I simply want you to be educated and informed and make your own decisions. So let's jump back into it. We got 14,831 shares, and that is as of August. The August payment happens on August 8th, and this is actually one of the lower payments of the year. It's only $1.94 per share. So we're taking 14,831, we're multiplying it times $1.94, and that's giving us a dividend payout of 28,000. So let me put down 8 equals $28,772.14. So imagine that the lowest payment that you've gotten to date is $28,000, more than a lot of people make in an entire half of a year. In 1 month, the trust fund got paid that out. So now we're going to look at what was the rate for the on August 9th. The share price is $23.37. So we're going to divide that amount by $23.37. So let me do that math. Divided by $23.37, and that's another 1,231 shares. 1231, and we're adding that to our 14,831. So 14,831 plus 1231, and that gives us 16,062 shares, and that's as of September. Let's take a look and see what the share price, I'm sorry, the dividend per share was in the month of September. When we come back over here and we look on September 9th, get paid out, and it's $1.99 equals $1.85. It's actually the lowest that it's been to date, $1.85. So we're slumming. We are slumming this month. We're going to go back to the calculator, and we're just going to do that math. 16,062 shares times $1.85 per share times $1.85 per share. Even though we were slumming, because we acquired more shares in our trust fund, it ends up being a greater payout than the previous month. $29,714.70. And then that was as of 9/9. So we're going to go back to our chart on Google and see what the share price was on or around 9/9. And we look at that share price on September 13th was $21.85. So we got it at $21.85. And now we're going to do that math. We're just constantly doing basic math. We are adding, multiplying, and dividing. Adding, multiplying, dividing. That's it. $29,714.70 divided by $21.80. And that gives us another 1,363 shares, which we are adding to 1,363 plus 16,062. That gives us 17,425. And that is now going to take us to the month of October, the best month of the year. Great people were born in the month of October, especially October 29th. Thankfully, the payout took place on October 25th, and I want everybody to see this for themselves. It is so critical and imperative that you take a look at this for yourself. So here is the month of October. The dividend went from $1.85 in September all the way up to $4.20 on 10/25. So we now have 17,425 shares. That's how much and how large the portfolio's share count has grown to. We're now going to multiply this times $4.20. And in the month of October, the dividend payout is $73,185. I can't even begin to stress just how incredibly insane this is. But we're going to do one more month. We're going to go just one more, because I want everybody to take a look at just how powerful this is. So we got $73,185 on my birthday, essentially 4 days before my birthday, October 25th. And then on November 1st, the share price was all the way up to $27.51. So let's take a look at the $27.51. We're going to do that math. Again, we multiplied, and now it's time to divide. We got our payout amount, and now it's time to divide that by the share price of $27.51, and now we get 2,660 new shares, and we are adding that to our existing share count, 2,660 plus 17,425. That equals 20,085 shares. We're now into November. So I'm going to take us back over to our dividend payout. And on November 22nd, so 11/22, the dividend amount is $4.42. the highest that it's been all year. In November, the dividend payout is $4.42. So let's do the math. Yet again, simple basic math. 20,085 shares times $4.42. The payout in the month of November is $88,775.70, and that is in the month of November. Now, as you see, the dividends fluctuate. After November, it dropped down to 308, then to 228, then to 202, down to 138, down to 134, up to 237. It's not going to stay consistent. It's an ebb and a flow. But if we add up the dividend payout amounts that you received by going with this strategy, well, no, let's do the math on what the portfolio value is. So on 11/22, you got paid out, and on November 22nd, the share price for each of them was $35.85. So let's look at that. We had 20,085, and then the share price jumped all the way up to $35.85. $35.85. We took $200,000 and have a new portfolio value of $720,047.25, and you got paid out a check of $88,775.70. This is the power of a trust fund. So there's a lot more that goes into this. There's a lot of reasons. Lots of people have questions and saying, well, how are they able to do this? All of that stuff is what we talk about at the knowledge movements, and what I don't have enough time as a part of this video to explain. But I wanted everyone to see what it looks like with real numbers. This is not pie in the sky. This is not, oh, I hope something like this would happen. These are the real numbers. A property was sold, the capital was used to invest and put into the account that's in the name of the trust, and then every single month the account is growing. So at this point, I'm going to stop. I'm going to quickly jump over, see if there's even maybe a question, because nobody really knew that this was happening. I probably don't have any questions. So yeah, you can go back and watch the video. It was the $200,000, but again, it doesn't matter. If it was $10,000, we would have seen the same return. It just would have been proportional. So if we go down to 10,000 and we took 200,000 and turned it into 700,000, then proportionally, what that would have been 10,000 into what, 35,000. So whatever amounts it is that you're starting with, the math is the math, and it's simply a case of following the process. A lot of people say, oh, I've never heard of such a thing. I can't believe it's true. That's why I say don't take my word for it. Go do your own independent research. You can go online, you can look at YieldMax, you can research their funds, you can see exactly what the process is, or you can come to one of the knowledge movement sessions and I'll do it for you. I'll tell you. But above all else, I want for individuals to know what's possible and just how incredible it is, because it is life-changing, and it's something in which so many people have access to. We just haven't been informed about it. And that's what this video is about. That's what these workshops are about. So I want to thank everybody who's tuned in and subscribed to the YouTube page. I'm going to bring it up. The YouTube page, if you go right to youtube.com and then just go and type in the law offices of Mario A. Reed or the Education Esquire, go to law offices of Mario A. Reed. It's this top one here where it says Law Offices of Mario A. Reed. 38 subscribers. Thank you to all who have subscribed. Currently, there are 2 videos on there. Now there's going to be 3 because I'm going to be uploading this one on there. But you can like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to keep giving content and information like this away. A lot of people say, as an attorney, why are you doing that? Why aren't you charging for it? I don't believe that a certain amount of information should cost. Ultimately, we all should have been taught so many of these concepts as young people, so that's the reason why I give it away for free. Now, if somebody comes and says, can you do my estate plan for me? Well, we have to do the legal services, and there's a cost associated with that. But as far as the knowledge goes, knowledge shouldn't be curried, or it shouldn't be kind of um, exchanged for goods and services. We should want everyone to be knowledgeable to the point where they can navigate in a world and be better because of it. So the Education Esquire was the moniker that we use for the firm, and it's because education is a top priority. We're going to be having another outreach. It's going to take place on the first Thursday in June. It's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. at Visions Odium on the south side of Chicago. Let me just pull it up right now. Visions Odium, Chicago, Illinois. It's going to take place from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that's located at 1190 South Loomis Street in Chicago, Illinois. We're going to be going through this same workshop. There's going to be a handout. That handout is very helpful and beneficial. I highly recommend coming to that event, arriving early, and making sure you get yourself a spot, because the goal is to get educated. There's zero cost to attend that. We actually are going to be raffling off $100. Bring your business cards, and then at which point you can win a $100 raffle. We are paying people to come learn about this information. We're going to also have another knowledge movement session, which is going to be the second Sunday in June. Those details will be posted on the Facebook page of Mario A. Reed right at the cover photo. So you go right here and then look right up at the top, and there's the cover photo with the information. I want to stress yet again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial planner. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not interested in taking any of your money and investing it, because that's not my role. That's not my responsibility. I just want to educate. And anybody who wants to receive the information, you can go further. You can set up an appointment with your financial planner, with your financial advisor, and then you can go the route of working with them. But above all else, I just want you to be informed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your holiday. It is Memorial Day, and ideally, you are spending it with loved ones, family, and friends, and gaining and building together. All right, everyone, have a great one. Enjoy. Take care.